Hello, everybody. Welcome to SportsSkope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. Got a lot I want to talk about tonight, particularly the NFL free agency. Tom Brady coming out of retirement. Got a little bit more in depth on the reason he even stepped away, kind of abruptly, really, if you think about it, the way that was covered. We'll get into that a little bit. Carson Wentz, who's the real winner there? Was it Indianapolis? Was it Washington? Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, news all there. But first, this league, and Colin Cowherd mentioned this the other day, a few months ago, actually, but he mentioned again the other day. He says that the best quarterback in each conference and each division in the NFL won their division. The best preseason rated quarterback won their division in the NFL. Think about that. And I'm looking at all this Deshaun Watson talk here coming up. And now you've got Arthur Blank wanting to get Deshaun Watson now. He went to high school in the Atlanta area from the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers have sent out an private investigator to check out Deshaun Watson's situation for over a year now, practically. Who's the other one? The Saints have been involved with Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. The Cleveland Browns have been involved with the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes, according to Mary Kate Cabot, the plain dealer, Cleveland plain dealer. Even the Colts. Why would they even call it? That's their own division. Because this league right here is more quarterback driven than it has ever been in the history of the game right now. Okay? And the haves and have. You look at last year. You know, last year, Mad New Yorker, as soon as Stafford came available, Les Snead and Sean McVay, they turned over tables like nobody's business to go out and get this guy. That even though they had Jared Goff, they pressed the issue. They upped the ante on the compensation. They pull a full court press on Matt Stafford, and look what happened. They got a Super Bowl. They did not sit on their hands like teams have in the past and didn't get it. You look at Russell Wilson now. They are fifth. The Denver Broncos are fifth in Super Bowl favorites now. And now Randy Gregory has pulled out of Dallas, talking with Dallas. He's going to go sign E.J. Jones. He's going to go sign with the Denver Broncos, possibly Von Miller coming back, Pickles. But, you know, it's so quarterback driven. The Atlanta Falcons still have a massive contract with Matt Ryan. And I'm thinking they're probably going to try to do something with the Colts, who desperately need a quarterback now. You know, they're willing to eat part of that $40-something million salary just to be in the conversation, because it's so quarterback driven. And if your coach and team is not on board with getting a quarterback in the offseason, often these Super Bowls guys are won in March. They are won right now. These Super Bowls are won right now. You know, you've got a team, and then you've got the flip side of this. There's other teams that are so fearful of not having a quarterback that they extend mediocre quarterbacks in fear of having a bad quarterback and being totally irrelevant and losing their job. For example, Kirk Cousins has re-signed with Minnesota out of pure fear of that position. I've never seen it to this extent, but I will say this. You got to pay attention in business, in the NFL, and whatever business you're in. You have to pay attention to the trends, or you will get left behind. you know. And I'm watching this Deshaun Watson thing now that there's no legal recourse here criminally. I said on the Mac and Jack show on Sunday, I don't think the league is going to do anything. I think they learned their lesson from kind of jumping the gun on the Ben Roethlisberger charge there. Antonio Brown was not suspended for his sexual assault civil suit. He was suspended for some criminal stuff and punched a tow truck driver or something like that. Got arrested for that, but he was not suspended for that. So I do not think Watson's going to get suspended, you know. But if I'm Deshaun Watson, I don't want to say he met up with Cleveland today. I think he's going to meet up with some more teams tomorrow. Go where the best team is. Go where the best team is. You can get even if it's in a crappy town like Cleveland, Ohio. You know, if you don't want to live in Cleveland, you can always rent in Cleveland. You don't have to buy in Cleveland. You can rent in Cleveland. I was telling some friends about this over the weekend. You know, you can live in Cleveland for what? The mini camps. You go there a few weeks during mini camps, 2 weeks. And those are voluntary, but I would go. I would show up. You got training camp around the end of July. You have training camp. You know, Pickle says Atlanta. You have training camp at the end of July. And then August, you have preseason. And then you play. Hopefully, you're playing to February. That means you're in a Super Bowl, right? But if you're not, as soon as the season's over, you have your exit meeting. You cut your power to a minimum. If not, do an Airbnb. And then you go back to the town that you're from, that you want to live in. You know, me, that would be Nashville. But you look at offensive line, defensive line, running game. You got an offensive-minded head coach, young, innovative, Kevin Stefanski. That's the best place for football. Now, people talk about Atlanta and this. I don't know. You know, every time I see a player, air quote, go home to play, I think about Ken Griffey Jr. when he went to Cincinnati and played. Always seemed out of shape. He was hurt all the time in Cincinnati. I think players seem to lose. They play well when they go there as a visiting team, and they want to show off on friends and family, former coaches, whatnot. They do play well. I've seen that happen. But when a player goes home to play as a regular player, I say they lose their edge just a little bit. And Mad New Yorker, the Panthers do not have a better team than Cleveland. The Panthers don't have the players. They don't have the cap space. They've had some quarterbacks they've signed that didn't work out. They've lost some. They've got a running back that's hurt all the time, that's overpaid, and Christian McCaffrey. I disagree. I'll put that up there, but I disagree. The Panthers do not have a better team. I think that Matt Rule's very innovative. The coach now, he also played college. He played college ball at, obviously, Clemson. That's pretty close to Charlotte. He'd be a good fit there. But I would not go. I don't think him going to his hometown will be good. Now, of course, he's got Kyle Pitts. It looks like Cordell Patterson's going to re-sign with Atlanta. They'll have a decent offensive line. Their defense is fair. It's not bad. It was bad. But the distractions, Pickle says, and that's what it is. It would be too many distractions for him to go to Atlanta and play. I don't think that would be good. I think Cleveland would be the best place for him to play. You know, the Colts would be good. The Colts would be really good. Tennessee would be really good. But they're both in the same division. It's not going to happen. I hope that he looks at football first, everything else second. Winning first. But my main point for this argument is that these owners that are coming out of the woodwork, Jeff Tepper with Carolina, they realize you don't have a chance if you don't have a quarterback in this league. You know, you're not going to win. Nothing. Mad New Yorker, Tyrod Taylor signed with the Giants with Daniel Jones. They don't have a shot to win the Super Bowl this year. Philadelphia Eagles with Jalen Hurts, if he's the start quarterback, they don't have a shot to win a Super Bowl. Cleveland or Detroit. even with a guy that did go to the Super Bowl, they don't have a shot. This year's Houston team, they don't have a shot. You know, there's certain teams, and like for instance, Mitch Trubisky. You know, Pittsburgh signed Mitch Trubisky, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, you got Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph are going to compete for the starting job. Now, they didn't even get in the hunt for Deshaun Watson. They were not really serious contenders for Deshaun Watson, from what I've read. And I'm thinking to myself, the same thing with Pete Carroll. Mike Tomlin and Pete Carroll are defensive guys, and it seems like they still want to play defense and run the ball. Yeah, you've got to have a quarterback in here. Drew Lock. I'm hearing that Drew Lock, they think Drew Lock may be the guy. Are you kidding me? You know? Are you kidding? You know, I'll say this. Mitch Trubisky, no, they're not paying him anything. But you're not going to compete with Joe Burrow. I doubt if you're going to compete with even Baltimore with Mitch Trubisky, a guy who could not win a playoff game in Chicago. Great defense in Chicago, a much better play designer, and with Matt Nagy in Chicago. What makes you think with a lesser offensive line, with a defensive-minded head coach, that he can win in Pittsburgh? You know, this could be the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin. He hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. And that's with Ben Roethlisberger. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. No real sense of urgency to go out and get a Deshaun Watson. Now, maybe they draft somebody. Maybe they draft Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis. But if they don't feel like that these guys are the guys, I understand that. But it just seems to me they were never mentioned in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes. They were never mentioned in the there was a brief mention with Deshaun Watson. Then they went away from that, you know. And that makes me think that Tomlin, you know, he's got a lot of power. Today, he's 50 today. The guy's very young. He just turned 50 today. He's below 500 in the playoffs. Hasn't won a playoff game since 2016. People will say, well, you know, Tomlin did. He's not had a losing season, but is that going to become that's mediocre? They're mediocre. They slid into the playoffs because of the collapse by the Colts. And they haven't won a playoff game since 2016. And people, like, you hear people talk up Mitch Trubisky. Are you kidding me? You know? And I'm reading that he's going to compete with Mason Rudolph. A guy that was not even that great in college. I don't know why he's even got a job in the league. So this could be the beginning of the end for Mike Tomlin. This could be the beginning of the end for Pete Carroll. And I'm leaning more towards Pete Carroll being done in 2 years than I am with Mike Tomlin, because I understand you have to go with what you got. But you got to turn over tables to get a quarterback in this league. You have to be aggressive. You have to sell these guys, because if you don't, you're going to fall behind farther and farther and farther behind. And I'm in Nashville pickles. Now looking back on it, 2 years later, Tennessee should have turned over every single table to get Tom Brady. We got sold on Ryan Tannehill. Years ago, Tennessee half-heartedly put an effort towards getting Peyton Manning. They didn't go at him hard enough because they had Jake Locker. You get the quarterback right, things fall into place. Randy Gregory's now wanting to go to Denver. E.J. Jones pulls out of San Francisco. He wants to go play in Denver under Russell Wilson. You know, Tennessee should have turned over many more tables, got 10 times more aggressive, and you felt like Tennessee with Peyton Manning, instead of Denver winning, that they simply did what they did because the owner wanted them to do that, you know. And Pittsburgh seems to be a team that, you know, they're kind of stuck in yesteryear, run the ball, stop the run. That's great, but you got to have a quarterback to make plays to win in this league, you know. Look at Tom Brady. Look at Tom Brady. Let me go back to my notes here. So, okay, speaking of Tom Brady. Okay, so he retires. He's back. But there's more to the story. After reading over this for a couple of days, it came to my attention going back during the season. It was an injury of some sort. I think it was Achilles injury. Bruce Arians was coming off of an injury. And Tom Brady, this is well documented, okay? Tom Brady and the offensive coordinator, Byron Leftwich, had worked on a game plan all week. And Bruce Arians comes in on game day, hobbling with his red ink pen, and X's out the game plan and puts his game plan in. Now, Tom Brady at this point, he's a 7-time Super Bowl champion. It doesn't seem like a lot. He plays the game as much as he can, as far as everything, as far as in front of the media. He's made little hints that things are a little bit sluggish there. He's a grinder. They're a very loose atmosphere. But that's slight. Tom Brady is a super competitor. I've seen him personally go off on Josh McDaniels on the sideline when he was with New England. He's got a temper and he's got a boatload of pride. I've got pride too. I understand that. But that was reported during the regular season. After the season ends, Tom Brady says he's going to retire when nobody else reports come to he's going to retire, but he didn't say he's going to. It felt very clunky and out of place, and like it was just like he thought about it for a few days after they lost to the Rams. Maybe he felt like they didn't properly prepare for the Rams, but it's like he thought about it and thought about it and thought about it, and it ticked him off so much. He's like, let's go ahead and retire. There's other reports that he tried to orchestrate a trade. These are from Mike Florio, again, this guy from Pro Football Talk. And then the Arians comes up, 5 first-round picks. He comes up with that because he still had a year left on his contract. So that's probably the real reason there. Then over the weekend, this past weekend, Tom Brady is with the owner, the Glazer family, at the Manchester United, the soccer team game in England over the weekend. And now all of a sudden he says he's going to come back. The speculation is, and we're just putting pieces together, Jason Whitlock, Mike Florio, the wildly reported, think that he talked to the owners in the Manchester soccer game and said, hey, listen, I'll come back, but you tell Bruce Arians to stay out of my way, okay? Let me, if I'm working on something with the offensive coordinator, he does not have the authority to put a big red ink pen to it when he hasn't done the order. That's what Brady was saying, you know? Now, I don't know why Brady wouldn't confront Arians straight up on this, but that's what it seems like. Pickle City has a huge ego. Yeah. So Jason Whitlock said that's a LeBron James type of move. And I get it. So that's what it's that plus what I've been saying is he started looking at his schedule and people like him, type A, I'm a type A myself. I work 12 to 14 hours a day and I still do this show. And I work so hard during the week. I'm exhausted on the weekend. I just like to chill. But if I had just a 7-hour, 8-hour day regular work day, I get antsy. Competitors like him, and a lot of these players, Mike Golick, former NFL player, he used to say this, players like to have that itinerary, like you're flying an airplane, like you're supposed to be here at this time, here at this time. And when you take that away and you don't have anything to replace that itinerary, bad things happen. Some guys turn into alcoholics. They get on drugs. Others get caught up in the golf game. Their marriages fall apart because they have to have that itinerary, So I think part of it is he did not have that itinerary filled. And the other part is he butted heads with Bruce Arians. And he wanted to get clarification from the Glazer family that if we're working on something, I don't want it to be edited out. I don't want this to be an Al Davis situation where he edits out our game plan in the middle of the on Thursday or Friday. We've been working on it all week. So I do think there's some of that in there. Okay. So then you say, well, so what type of team does he have? It's not as good as the team he had coming in. They've lost 2 offensive linemen. This Ali Murford, whatever his name is, one guard on the offensive line retired. The other one went to Cincinnati. I'm proud of Cincinnati for what they did. But they made a trade. They made a trade to get Shaq Mason from New England. I thought that was huge. They made a trade to get Shaq Mason from New England. I want to say they brought back Jansen, the center there. So they have the center. They have Shaq Mason. They've got Chris Godwin on a franchise tag. And I'll tell you who else they've got here in a minute as soon as I can find it. We've got so many notes here. And also former from what I was just saying, Rich Orenberger, who played with Brady back in 2009, was tweeting out, this was back in February, talking about that disagreement. He said, I heard some things recently. Tom Brady and Bruce Arians' honeymoon was over in Tampa. The retirement announcement wasn't because of trouble seeing eye to eye on the offensive game plan, but the relationship was souring, is what he's saying. He said apparently while Arians was rehabbing from his Achilles in the morning, offensive coordinator Brian Leftwich and Brady would work on the week's game plan. Arians would later come in and take the red ink pen. Basically what I said, this former Patriot is saying that. So they're bringing back Ron Jensen, Chris Godwin, Arian Stein, and Carlton Davis. That's the cornerback that was a free agent there. Things got much brighter in Tampa. Things went from Bruce Arians probably going, like I told you, I said he's probably going to retire, even though he likes to win too, to now they're back in the Super Bowl hunt because there's not many quarterbacks in the league. Drew Brees is retired. Dallas looked like to be a threat. They're losing players left and right because they overpaid everybody. The Rams are getting older. They're the biggest threat. They're overpaying in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams is getting everything. So who else you really got to worry about in the NFC? I guess one of the NFC West teams, I would say, maybe the 49ers, but they may be playing a second-year quarterback. Okay, so they've got a good team. Brady may play 1 year, and to be a free agent at 45 years old, would you take a chance on him if you're Tennessee next year? If you're Miami or somebody, yeah, possibly. He possibly may do this. This may come out in the wash later on. Godwin going to be healthy? I don't know, Brian. I wouldn't have done that with Godwin. That's too much money with Chris Godwin. I like Godwin, but he's coming off of like an ACL tear. And $19 million franchise tag seems insane in the membrane to me. I would have took a chance on, the guy that maybe a DJ Shark or somebody for much cheaper. But, he's got a lot of character. He's a hard worker. But with Evans back there, they'll probably get Gronk. I would have took a chance maybe in the draft for another wide receiver, but they're not going to do that. They're going to go with Godwin, and Brady will do whatever it takes to make the salaries work because he's always done that in the past. Now, speaking of not making salaries work, so the numbers comes out on the Aaron Rodgers deal, okay? They say $50 million. The actual cap hit, and I read through Spot Track, it's $28 million. The franchise, Devontae Adams, by the way, that's close to 20. So you got the cap hit for Rodgers, according to Spot Track, $28 million. Franchise like 18.6. We'll round it up, say 24 for Devontae Adams, who's not going to play on it. You put that together, that's $48 million out of a $208 million cap hit. If Brian Gutekunst has a fallout with Aaron Rodgers during the off-season, during the season, if they have something crazy come up, they can't eat. If they cut Aaron Rodgers, guys, if they cut him this year after he signs his contract tomorrow, which is Wednesday, it's $175 million dead cap money. So they're stuck with Aaron Rodgers through sickness and health. They are stuck with Aaron Rodgers. If they had to cut him for whatever reason, they couldn't even field a football team and pay them market. They couldn't pay nobody market. They would have to pay the bare minimum. They would have to get semi-pro players to fill that team up if they cut Aaron Rodgers. If he gets hurt, he's 38 years old, and I just don't get it, man. I understand what it is to. I just went on a tangent. I got on my soapbox about quarterbacks. I understand that. On the flip side, you can't be that afraid of going out and trying to get another one. I would have traded him for a haul and just try again. You want to get that quarterback on a rookie contract and just try again. Protect him, get to the other quarterback. But Brady, like I said, or Rodgers, like I said last week, I've lost respect for him. He's not into winning. He's into the money. He's into the attention. But you're a top 5 all-time quarterback rating quarterback, and you've got one Super Bowl, as many as Trent Dilfer. The guy who's the other guy? The game manager for the Tampa Bay Bucks in 2002. You're in that class? You're in that class when you should be in Brady, Montana, Elway, Manning class. You should be there. Because talent, Joe Flacco Pickle says, the talent for Rodgers is that level. Montana, Brady, Elway, Peyton Manning. And you got one ring. And that's all you're going to get because you want to be the highest paid player in the league every year. Hold on for a second, guys. Let me change out my podcast here. So I'm not going to get fooled again, like the Who song said. I'm not picking I don't care how well they look in the regular season, this Green Bay Packers team. Brian says Stafford. Stafford's pretty talented, and he did play for Detroit, but he's a turnover machine. I will give you that. Most in the league. So anyways. All right. So how's free agent going? Well, let me get to this other thing. Carson Wentz. 2 years, $160 million. 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 the Carson Wentz trade it tells me that teams, Russell Wilson, even without an owner that's going to be of Denver, he took a chance with that over going to play for Dan Snyder in Washington. That's how bad it is there. It's so bad in Washington that they paid Carson Wentz $28 million. Now, he's an upgrade over Tyler Heinicke. You can't teach 6'4", 240. You can't teach that. But again, he's got to go see a sports psychologist. John Smoltz did it. Major League Baseball. Alex Rodriguez did it. He said, why are you saying that? I said, because he looked great that second year in the league when he's almost got an MVP. But he thinks too long. Frank Wright took the ball out of his hands late in games because he was turning the ball over. He was either hanging on to it too long, costly interceptions, not knowing when to run, when to pass. He's over second-guessing himself. But Washington needs a quarterback so bad. They have such a bad reputation that they say, we'll pay his salary, $28 million, and we'll give you some picks. Now the Colts don't have a quarterback. I get that. There was a story that the Colts would be interested in Derek Carr. I tell you what, man, I'd give 4 or 5 picks for Derek Carr for what you have at the Colts now. I really would. But I do like the fact how and plus they got $69 million in cap space. Could the Colts trade for Matt Ryan and pay part of the salary? He's better than Wentz. At least he's been in the Super Bowl, even though he's not that much better. Possibly a change, or go after Casey Keenum in Cleveland, or a cheap Baker Mayfield. If Cleveland can go out and get Watson, I say Cleveland's best for Watson. But he's definitely, and Kirk Cousins. Brian says Kirk Cousins. Yeah, and that's all fear, Brian. And that's what I talked about at the beginning of the program. Extending Kirk Cousins is fear from management not getting a quarterback. If I'm a team like a Minnesota Vikings, I try to get Watson. I try to get Wilson. I guess Keelan Mond must not have done well in camp. But I just don't get I don't get Kirk Cousins, man. I just don't get it. And it's fear. It's fear from the organization. They must not be sold on Keelan Mond. I would rather I would have traded him. I'll trade him right now for a second-round pick and a player or two to the Indianapolis Colts, who's got plenty of money to pay him. It fit right in with the Colts. But the Colts are saying, well, we traded away this guy for that guy. We're trading away average for average. But Kirk Cousins is he's a guy that's made almost $200 million, and he is the definition of mediocre. He's not too bad. He's not too. And Ryan says Pickles says Matt Ryan will fit in Indy. Indy needs a quarterback, But if you've already had a guy for a few years and you are 500 or you get to the playoffs and you're limited, you need to move on. That's it. That's all you can do. It's like Tennessee here. Tennessee, looking back on it, guys, they should have, when Tom Brady came available, they should have just forget about the cap. Let's sell Brady. We will eat money. We will delay money and be dead later. We will delay, by the way, $75 million cap dead money, no matter what, in year 3 of Aaron Rodgers' contract. $75 million, no matter what. Because they owe him 150 guaranteed. It's the highest in history. But these average quarterbacks, it's The position is so scarce that teams either they're too scared to trade their average guy, or they're willing to mortgage the farm for a star. I'm willing to mortgage the farm for a star because when you got the quarterback, everything else seems to fall in place. It's easier to get bigger name free agents. For example, case in point, Randy Gregory backed out of Dallas, and now he's going to Denver. DeMarcus Ware had other offers. He wanted to go play with Peyton Manning. Look how that turned out to be in Denver. They won a Super Bowl. Okay? And think about Tua. Miami's got they got a good backup there, but Miami's got an average backup there, and Teddy Bridgewater. He may beat out Tua. The problem is they don't really got a good offensive line, and both of those guys get hurt. That's the only problem I have with that. Okay, speaking of aggressive wins in life. If you're aggressive enough, you're going to get the girl, you're going to get the job, you're going to make some mistakes because sometimes aggressive means getting in a hurry. But the LA Chargers, man, did they do something? I'm other than Denver, because they got the quarterback, they got the big kahuna. Other than Denver and maybe Cleveland if they can pull off Deshaun Watson, but this LA Charger team. They made a trade over the weekend. They've got Khalil Mack now. Can play the run, can play the edge, can play the opposite of Joey Bosa. Yeah. And Brian says when you really think about it, these teams are a mess at the quarterback. Yeah, that's true. Now, I don't think they're a mess in LA. This LA with Justin Herbert, height, speed, football, academics, check. Got a really young coach, Brandon Staley. I think he's going to make some corrections from last year. But now they've got J.C. Jackson. I don't know why New England let him go. That's probably a huge mistake by the Patriots. This guy's a top 5 cornerback in the league. So you got J.C. Jackson on the corner. You've made a trade because they got a boatload of money. They've got a rookie contract quarterback. That's an ideal situation if you think you got the guy. And trust me, they got the guy. They got the guy in LA right now. Okay? So you got Khalil Mack. You've got J.C. Jackson. You've got Derwin James, one of the best safeties when healthy in the league. He stayed healthy last year. You've got J.C. Jackson, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack. Only thing that would set it off is maybe get a Bobby Wagner in the middle. But I'm thinking Dallas may go after him. Now, Dallas is losing players left and right because they overpay everybody. But I'm most impressed, other than Denver, their opponent, and this Charger team. That's your secondary, that's your pass rush. They went out and got another offensive lineman. Last year, they signed a left tackle. They drafted a left tackle early. They signed a center. They've got, I think they took the center from, was it Lindsey, Corey Lindsey, whatever, from Green Bay. They got their center, Slater, that left tackle they took last year in the draft. Big things popping, little things stopping. Another LA team could be in the Super Bowl. Hey, I'm just telling you, I'm just calling balls and strikes. All the LA haters, and I really liked LA. I don't care for it, but I just call balls and strikes. That Charger team's going to be, and quite frankly, you guys seen the games. They beat Kansas City. They should have won that last game. There's a lot of games they should have won last year and the year before that, but particularly last year. And they're going to be good. And, of course, Matt New Yorker says Max needs to stay healthy. Yeah. And, again, Colin Cowherd, I want to give him credit where it's due. He put out a stat on me today and it blew my mind. Last 6 years, big free agent spenders have been 5 games better. Look at New England last year. They go crazy in free agency. They missed on Jonnu Smith, but he hit on Matt Judon. They hit on Bourne. They hit in their draft picks, right? Mac Jones, they hit on their draft, but they were big spenders in free agency, guys. Hunter Henry, pretty solid there, right? Okay. And guess what? They got into the playoffs. They got into the playoffs last year, guys. They were big spenders in free agency. A few years before that, the Rams were big spenders in free agency in 2017, right? Well, what happened in 18? They got to the Super Bowl. They were big shakers, movers and shakers this past year. They won the Super Bowl. Okay. They went after Jalen Ramsey. They went after Von Miller. They're big swingers. Okay. Matt Stafford, of course, the big one, right? They went after Odell Beckham. The year before that, they went after Sammy Watkins. You know, big spenders, big things. They don't sit on their hands. And they got that ring. You know, it's kind of like when you get that ring, even though you're going to be busted at some point on the salary cap and all that other crap, it's just like my parents used to tell me when I would get my degree. They said, why don't you hang in there and get that college degree? And I said, why? They said, because that can't be taken away. Once that's there, that's there. That ring can't, 1998 University of Tennessee football, that ring is still there. That's always going to be there. The Cleveland Cavaliers, 2016, whatever you want to say, that ring is always going to be there. That's the same thing with this Ram team. Even the Marlins, how bad they are. They got 2 rings in the last 20-something years. Those rings are still there. They're still there. They're still in the books. You cannot take that away. So when you have an opportunity, go after and get that quarterback. Go all means necessary. Get that quarterback. If you've drafted that quarterback, go out there and make the big swing and get those defensive players. Get that big wide receiver you need. Get that pass rusher you need. Okay? Get that left tackle you need. If you do that and do not pull back, do not hesitate, don't think about the future. When you get that ring is there forever. And if you got to go out and do away with that coach, get that big coach. Too many times these teams sit on their hands. They sit on their hands. Minnesota, right? Pittsburgh right now, sitting on their hands. And the ones who go out there and make that big move, sometimes it blows up in your face, but other times, more often than not, again, big spenders in free agency the last 6 years have added 5 games from the previous year. They've added 5 games. Yes, Pickle says the future is now. The Titans should have went after Russell Wilson. Now that it's over with, they should have went after Russell Wilson. So, Robert, what do they do with Ryan Tannehill? You trade him to somebody else, and you eat part of that money. That's what you do. And what do you do about everything else? You delay that money. You delay that money. No, Trubisky, I do not like the Trubisky pickup. Pittsburgh was not even in the Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. They were not even in the Russell Wilson sweepstakes. Now they're saying, Brian, that Pittsburgh is going to let Trubisky and Rudolph battle it out. Now we haven't had the draft yet. If they go out and get Kenny Pickett and cut one of those players, then I think they're thinking ahead. But I'll give them this draft and next draft. If they don't go after a real quarterback, then I think they need to move on with everything in Pittsburgh. But they got the defense that can win. They've got some money under the cap. They've got the defense that can win now. They need some help on the line. I think they signed another offensive lineman, I want to say, today. It wasn't a huge name, but they did. But I do not like Mitch Trubisky. I think Matt Nagy did a good job with Trubisky, with a great defense. And they had Allen Robertson. They had Tariq Cohen. This guy's doing a lot of smoke and mirrors, moving around and stuff. But I do not like the. I think Tomlin and Pete Carroll are two defensive guys sitting on their hands. They are sitting on their hands. Now, if they go out and get Kenny Pickett, or Malik Willis, or one of those other quarterbacks, now if they don't do that, then maybe their scouts are saying these guys aren't worth it. Okay, but in 2023, and you still sitting on your hands, then the game's passing you by. Because if you don't get the quarterback right, you're not going to get anything right in this league, But again, I like what the Chargers did, like what Denver did. Cincinnati, they got two offensive linemen there that they added, two guards, I want to say. They may get the center. They may get the center from Cleveland, J.C. Tretter. He was cut by Cleveland. They may pick him up. That would be good. I like the Cincinnati. They didn't sit on their hands. They did lose C.J. Uzomah. They can find a tight end in the draft. They've got 3 wide receivers. They can throw 2. Their defense is good, And Pickle says maybe Kenny Pickett will sit behind. Maybe that's what it is. But if they don't do anything these next 2 drafts, then I think there's a problem in Pittsburgh, But that's pretty much it, everybody. Let me look through my screenshots and make sure. Cleveland Browns completed their meeting on Tuesday with Deshaun Watson, per league source in Houston. Up next, 3-time Pro Bowler. Meet up with the Atlanta Falcons. Randy Gregory, I talked about that. Let's see, Dolphins. That was a good pickup by Dolphins. Getting Teddy Bridgewater if he can stay healthy. Okay, Mike Tomlin. I'm just looking to see. So if that happens, I can see Matt Ryan. If for whatever reason Watson does go to Atlanta, I can see the Colts probably getting Matt Ryan for a year, being another stopgap guy. What the Colts need is try to thank you, Corey. Appreciate that, brother. The Colts, what they need is get Andrew Luck to come back, man. He took 2 years off. Try to get him to come back to the league. They've had fill-in guys. This is going to be the 3rd year they're going to have a fill-in quarterback. Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and possibly Matt Ryan this year. And I'm looking at some of this other stuff here. So the Chargers, they re-signed Mike Williams. They signed J.C. Jackson. They signed offensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day. And they signed offensive tackle Austin Johnson, 2 years, $14 million. This Sebastian defensive tackle Sebastian Joseph Day, $24 million. They're not sitting on their hands. They want to win. Something I wish my team would be a little bit more aggressive. So kudos to this Charger team. Let's see. Jaguars went and got Brandon Sharif, Christian Kirk. Paid a little bit for him. They did let go. They let go one of their pass rushers. Pickle says the Jets. The Jets have been very quiet. Evan Ingram went to Jacksonville. 1 year, $9 million. Zay Jones, little high there. 3 years, $24 million there with Jacksonville. But Jacksonville's making aggressive moves. They're probably going to draft Neal out of Alabama at left tackle. That's probably what they're going to do. They've got an offensive-minded head coach. They might get in the playoffs next year. Yeah, I said it. They might get in the playoffs next year with Doug Peterson there and Trevor Lawrence there. But they released one of their play. I can't remember this guy's name. Pass rusher there. Miles Jack is a free agent. But they're looking at some of their younger players. Brian says, is there any room for Jonathan Taylor to carry to another seat? That's true. It's going to be running game and defense. Frank Wright's an offensive-minded head coach. A change of senior would help Matt Ryan. I would go after Casey Keenum, somebody like that. Or not, unless they don't have a first round pick. So, maybe go after Baker Mayfield if something happens in Houston. But Matt Ryan, they would gladly give up Matt Ryan. I'd give up Matt Ryan if I didn't have a starting quarterback in Atlanta. I say, you take that salary and give us a second round pick, and you guys take the dead money for Matt Ryan. We're okay with that. We'll lose some games and start over next year because we still got Kyle Pitts for another 2 years on a rookie contract. Just food for thought. Just food for thought. If you don't have the quarterback, what you don't want to be is 8-9, 9-8, where you're stuck in mediocrity. You just don't want that. You either want to be great, or you want to lose out and get some players, or make that big splash to get players. Trade players on your team. Trade future round picks. Don't sit at 8-8. I hate that. But most teams, just like people in society, that's why it's called average, because that's the comfort level of most people, right? Yes. Overpaid. Yeah, he's very overpaid. He's the most overpaid player in the league, other than Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins never even been to a Super Bowl. Matt Ryan has. So if you guys like the show, share the show. I will continue to give you guys shorts. That seems to be a big hit. A lot of my friends have commented on me coming in doing these little shorts because of my job situation. I'm trying to get another job, trying to get that first radio gig here. And if something happens with Deshaun Watson tomorrow, guys, I will. If I'm out riding in my day job, I'll give you that. We'll talk about it. I hope he signs with Cleveland. I hope he does not go to Atlanta. If he signs with the Saints, I hope he's got somebody by him. If he signs with Carolina, I hope they can keep that line and receiving core there in Carolina. That's the last place I want him to go is Atlanta. I would love the first place I want him to go is Cleveland. But anyways, if you guys like the show, share the show. If not, I will be back here around 9 p.m. Central Time next Tuesday. But again, tune in. I will do live shots throughout the week for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes when breaking news happens. Okay. All righty, everybody. Just about to end the show right now. Again, check your phones. Check your phones. And if not, and by the way, now remember Sunday around 7:30 a.m. Central Time, I go on the Mac, Jack, and Jim Jeffcoat, former Dallas Cowboy. I'm not afraid to tell Jim if Dallas is screwing up, if Jerry Jones is screwing up. Some ladies suing him, supposedly had a daughter out of wedlock or something like that. I didn't even get to that story. There's too much big time of the stories. Tune into that. You can see that on Max Sports on Facebook or Northeast Streaming Sports on their YouTube channel. I'll come on there around 7:30 a.m. Central Time. We talk about this week in sports, a little bit of everything. So have a good night, everybody. If not, I'll see you again here on SportsSkope next week at around 9 p.m. Central Time here on SportsSkope.